Question 1. Policy provisions and coverage types. What is the primary purpose of an endorsement in an insurance policy? A. To provide additional coverage options that are not included in the main policy. B. To reduce the premium of the policyholder. C. To limit the liability of the insurer under certain conditions. D. To cancel a policyholder's existing coverage. And so A. Explanation. An endorsement is a document attached to an insurance policy that modifies the terms of the original policy. The primary purpose of endorsements is to add, alter, or exclude coverage, allowing for customization based on the insured's specific needs. For instance, a homeowner may add a flood endorsement to their standard homeowner's policy to cover water damage not typically included. Relevant rules. The New Hampshire Department of Insurance regulations stipulate that insurers must clearly outline any changes made by endorsements in the policy documentation. This ensures transparency for policyholders, allowing them to understand their coverage. Why the other options are incorrect. B. While endorsements may affect the premium by adding coverage, their primary role is not to reduce premiums. C. Endorsements can limit or expand coverage but are not primarily intended to limit the insurer's liability. That role is typically filled by exclusions. D. Endorsements do not cancel policies, instead, they modify the existing coverage. Question 2. Claims management. In the context of claims management, what is the primary responsibility of an adjuster during the claims investigation process? A. To deny claims based on company policy. B. To determine the validity and extent of the insurance claim. C. To negotiate settlements directly with the policyholder. D. To approve all claims without further investigation. Answer. B. Explanation. The primary responsibility of an adjuster during the claims investigation process is to determine the validity and extent of the insurance claim. Adjusters gather information including statements from involved parties, evidence from the incident, and documentation related to the claim to assess whether the claim is legitimate and to what extent the insurer is liable. Relevant guidelines. According to the New Hampshire Department of Insurance guidelines, adjusters must conduct thorough and unbiased investigations to uphold ethical standards in claims management. They are also required to follow fair claims practices, ensuring that all claims are evaluated in a consistent and equitable manner. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Denying claims arbitrarily goes against the ethical obligations of adjusters and can lead to regulatory scrutiny. C. While adjusters may negotiate settlements, their primary duty is to evaluate claims rather than negotiate. D. Approving all claims without investigation would violate industry standards and could lead to significant financial loss for the insurer. Question 3. Scenario-based question on risk assessment. Mr. Thompson owns a small construction company and has just completed a project for a client. Shortly after the project was completed, the client reported water damage to their property, claiming it resulted from faulty installation. What steps should Mr. Thompson take to manage this potential liability claim? A. He should ignore the client's complaint as it is not his responsibility after project completion. B. He should promptly gather documentation of the work completed, communicate with the client, and notify his insurance carrier. C. He should agree to fix the problem at no cost to maintain good client relations. D. He should advise the client to contact his insurer directly without his involvement. Answer. B. Explanation. In this scenario, the best course of action for Mr. Thompson is to promptly gather documentation of the work completed, communicate with the client, and notify his insurance carrier. By doing so, he creates a record of the work performed and ensures that the insurer is aware of the potential claim, allowing for appropriate coverage under his liability policy. Relevant regulations. Under New Hampshire law, it is important for contractors to notify their insurers of any potential claims as soon as they are aware of them. This allows the insurer to investigate and manage the claim effectively and supports the policyholder in protecting their interests. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Ignoring the complaint can lead to legal ramifications and further claims against Mr. Thompson. C. While maintaining good client relations is important, agreeing to fix the issue at no cost may not be financially prudent without assessing the validity of the claim and knowing what the insurance covers. D. Advising the client to contact the insurer directly without his involvement neglects his responsibility to provide necessary documentation and could complicate the claims process. Question 4. Fundamental concepts of casualty insurance. Which of the following best describes the principle of indemnity in casualty insurance? A. It ensures the policyholder will profit from a loss. B. It guarantees the insured will receive the full value of the property insured. C. It restores the insured to the financial position they were in before the loss occurred. D. It allows for compensation above the insured amount in cases of extreme hardship. Answer C. Explanation. The principle of indemnity is a fundamental concept in insurance that aims to restore the policyholder to the financial position they were in prior to a loss. This means the insurance is designed to cover the actual loss incurred, not to allow the insured to profit from the loss. Relevant rules. Under New Hampshire insurance regulations, the principle of indemnity is enforced to prevent overcompensation and to promote fairness in the insurance market. Policies are structured to cover the actual cash value or replacement cost, depending on the terms. While the other options are incorrect, A, the principle of indemnity prohibits profiting from a loss. Its goal is to prevent moral hazard. B, while policies may cover the full value, the actual compensation is limited to the amount of loss sustained. D. Indemnity does not allow for compensation beyond the loss. It strictly aims for restoration to the pre-loss state. Question 5. Regulatory environment. What is the primary purpose of the New Hampshire Department of Insurance? A. To promote insurance companies in New Hampshire. B. To protect the rights of policyholders and ensure fair market practices. C. To determine the pricing of insurance policies. D. To approve all insurance claims filed in the state. Answer B. Explanation. The primary purpose of the New Hampshire Department of Insurance is to protect the rights of policyholders and ensure fair market practices within the insurance industry. This includes regulating insurers, licensing agents, and enforcing compliance with state insurance laws. Relevant guidelines. The department operates under the authority granted by New Hampshire Revised Statutes Annotated RSA 400, which outlines its responsibilities in overseeing the insurance marketplace to ensure it operates fairly and ethically for consumers. While the other options are incorrect, A, while it may support local insurers, its core mission centers on consumer protection, not promotion. C, the department does not set prices. Rather, it regulates practices and ensures compliance with existing rate filings. D, the department does not approve claims. Claims management is the responsibility of the insurers themselves. Question 6. Claims management. When a liability claim is filed against an insured, what is the insurer's responsibility during the claims process? A, to provide legal defense for the insured regardless of the claim's merit. B, to investigate the claim and determine whether it falls within the coverage limits of the policy. C, to negotiate a settlement with the claimant without the insured's involvement. D, to automatically deny the claim if the insured does not respond within 30 days. Answer B. Explanation. The insurer's responsibility during the claims process is to investigate the claim thoroughly and determine whether it falls within the coverage limits of the policy. This includes reviewing the policy terms, evaluating the circumstances surrounding the claim, and gathering necessary evidence. Relevant rules. Under New Hampshire law, insurers are required to conduct prompt and fair investigations of claims in accordance with the New Hampshire Unfair Insurance Practices Act, RSA 417, which mandates fair treatment of policyholders. While the other options are incorrect, A, insurers provide legal defense only when the claim is covered by the policy, not indiscriminately. C, insurers must involve the insured in negotiations as they have a vested interest in the outcome. D, denying a claim based solely on non-response without investigation is a violation of fair claims practices. Question 7. Risk assessment and underwriting. In the context of underwriting, which factor is least likely to be considered when assessing a commercial property for insurance coverage? A, the property's location and its susceptibility to natural disasters. B, the owner's credit history and financial stability. C, the construction materials used in the property's design. D, the personal hobbies of the business owner. Answer D. Explanation. When underwriting a commercial property for insurance coverage, factors such as location, credit history, and construction materials are critical to evaluating risk. However, the personal hobbies of the business owner are generally not relevant to the underwriting process. Relevant guidelines. Underwriting guidelines require insurers to focus on factors that directly affect the risk profile of the property itself in line with the principles of risk assessment. While the other options are incorrect, A, the property's location is essential as it can influence susceptibility to hazards like floods or earthquakes. B, the owner's credit history is relevant because it may indicate financial responsibility and the ability to maintain coverage. C, construction materials significantly affect risk due to their impact on the property's vulnerability to damage. Question 8. Specialized coverages. Which of the following statements accurately reflects the nature of professional liability insurance? A, it provides coverage for bodily injuries caused by the insured's employees. B. It protects professionals against claims of negligence in their services. C. It covers property damage to client property while in the insured's possession. D. It is mandatory for all businesses operating in New Hampshire. Answer: B. Explanation. Professional liability insurance, also known as errors and omissions insurance, specifically protects professionals against claims of negligence or inadequate work in the services they provide. This type of coverage is crucial for professionals such as doctors, lawyers, and consultants. Relevant regulations. New Hampshire does not mandate professional liability insurance for all professionals. However, many regulatory bodies require certain professionals to carry it to safeguard client interests. Why the other options are incorrect. A. This type of insurance typically falls under general liability, not professional liability. C. Coverage for client property damage while in possession is generally part of general liability or property insurance, not professional liability. D. While recommended, professional liability insurance is not universally required for all businesses in New Hampshire. Question 9. Theoretical knowledge. Which of the following theories best explains why insurance exists as a mechanism for risk management? A. The law of large numbers. B. The principle of subrogation. C. The theory of moral hazard. D. The principle of insurable interest. Answer A. Explanation. The law of large numbers is a statistical principle that states that as the number of exposure units increases, the actual loss experience will more closely approximate the expected loss experience. This principle allows insurers to predict losses accurately and set premiums accordingly, thereby facilitating risk management through collective risk sharing. Relevant guidelines. The principle is foundational in the actuarial science that underpins insurance pricing and reserve setting. Why the other options are incorrect. B. Subrogation relates to recovering costs after a loss has been paid but does not explain the existence of insurance. C. Moral hazard describes how insurance can lead to riskier behavior but does not explain the primary rationale for insurance itself. D. Insurable interest is a requirement for a valid insurance contract, but it does not provide the foundational rationale for insurance. Question 10. Emerging trends and issues. In the context of emerging trends, how is climate change impacting casualty insurance in New Hampshire? A. It is decreasing the number of claims filed for property damage. B. It is leading insurers to raise premiums and modify coverage due to increased risk. C. It is resulting in more insurers entering the market due to perceived growth opportunities. D. It is making insurance irrelevant as people turn to alternative risk transfer methods. Answer B. Explanation. Climate change is leading insurers to raise premiums and modify coverage due to increased risk associated with extreme weather events, such as floods and storms. Insurers assess the higher frequency and severity of these events, which can lead to greater losses. Relevant rules. The New Hampshire Department of Insurance monitors and reports on trends impacting the insurance market, including those related to climate risk, ensuring that insurers are managing their exposure effectively. While the other options are incorrect. A. Claims for property damage are generally increasing due to climate change, not decreasing. C. Increased risk has led to some insurers exiting the market or tightening underwriting criteria rather than expanding. D. Insurance remains relevant as traditional risk transfer methods are still preferred. Alternative methods are not widely adopted for primary coverage. Question 11. Principles of insurance. Which of the following principles serves to prevent insurance fraud and ensure that the insured has a legitimate interest in the subject matter of the insurance? A. Risk management. B. Utmost good faith. C. Insurable interest. D. Subrogation. Answer C. Explanation. Insurable interest is a principle that requires the insured to have a legitimate financial interest in the subject matter of the insurance policy. This ensures that the insured stands to suffer a loss if the insured event occurs, thereby discouraging fraudulent claims. Relevant rules. According to New Hampshire Revised Statutes Annotated RSA 404B, insurable interest is a necessary condition for an enforceable insurance contract, meaning that a policy is void if the insured does not have an insurable interest at the time of the contract. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Risk management encompasses strategies to minimize risk but does not specifically address fraud prevention. B. Utmost good faith is an obligation to disclose all relevant information but does not directly insure a legitimate interest in the insured subject. D. Subrogation refers to the insurer's right to recover costs from a third party after paying a claim, which does not relate to preventing fraud. Question 12. Policy provisions and coverage types. In a commercial general liability CGL policy, which of the following is typically considered an exclusion? A. Liability for bodily injury caused by the insured's business operations. B. Liability arising from the use of owned vehicles in the course of business. C. Liability for damages resulting from pollution caused by the insured's operations. D. Liability arising from the premises rented by the insured. Answer: C. Explanation. Most CGL policies contain exclusions for liability arising from pollution unless specifically included through endorsements. Pollution liability is typically covered under specialized environmental liability insurance as it poses significant risk that standard policies may not adequately cover. Relevant rules. Under New Hampshire insurance regulations, insurers must clearly outline exclusions in their policy language, enabling policyholders to understand their coverage limitations. Why the other options are incorrect: A. Liability for bodily injury from business operations is generally covered under CGL policies. B. Liability from owned vehicles is typically covered under a commercial auto policy, not excluded from CGL. D. Liability for premises rented is generally covered unless specified otherwise in the policy. Question 13. Risk assessment and underwriting. When underwriting a workers' compensation policy, which factor is least relevant to assessing the risk of workplace injuries? A. The type of industry in which the business operates. B. The history of workplace injuries reported by the business. C. The educational background of the employees. D. The safety measures and protocols implemented by the employer. Answer: C. Explanation. The educational background of employees is generally not a primary factor in assessing the risk of workplace injuries. Underwriters focus more on industry type, past injury history, and safety measures, which directly correlate to the risk profile of the business. Relevant guidelines. The New Hampshire workers' compensation law requires insurers to evaluate risks based on empirical data related to industry safety records and employer practices to ensure fair premium pricing. Why the other options are incorrect: A. Industry type significantly affects risk levels, as certain industries have higher injury rates. B. A history of injuries provides insight into the workplace safety culture and potential liabilities. D. Safety protocols are crucial for minimizing risk and will significantly influence underwriting decisions. Question 14. Claims management. What is the primary responsibility of an insurance adjuster during the claims process? A. To deny claims that do not meet the policy's requirements. B. To investigate the claim and determine the insurer's liability. C. To negotiate settlements on behalf of the insured without their input. D. To settle claims quickly to maintain good customer relations. Answer: B. Explanation. The primary responsibility of an insurance adjuster is to investigate the claim thoroughly and determine the insurer's liability based on the policy coverage and the circumstances surrounding the claim. Adjusters gather evidence, interview witnesses, and evaluate damages to make an informed decision. Relevant rules. New Hampshire's Unfair Insurance Practices Act mandates that adjusters conduct fair and impartial investigations, ensuring that all relevant information is considered before making a determination. Why the other options are incorrect: A. While adjusters may deny claims, their role is not solely to deny, but to assess claims impartially. C. Negotiation should involve the insured, and their input is crucial for fair settlements. D. While timely settlements are important, the primary focus should be on the accuracy and fairness of the assessment. Question 15. Specialized coverages. Which of the following scenarios would likely necessitate the purchase of employment practices liability insurance? A. A business experiences a theft incident affecting its inventory. B. A company faces a lawsuit for wrongful termination from a former employee. C. A contractor is sued for property damage by a third party. D. A restaurant is held liable for food poisoning incidents. Answer: B. Explanation. Employment practices liability insurance is designed to cover claims arising from employment-related issues, including wrongful termination, discrimination, and harassment claims. Such coverage protects businesses from lawsuits filed by employees. Relevant guidelines. PI is becoming increasingly important as employment-related lawsuits rise. In New Hampshire, businesses are advised to assess their exposure to such risks when considering insurance options. Why the other options are incorrect: A. Theft of inventory would be covered under a property insurance policy. C. Property damage claims typically fall under general liability insurance, not a PI. D. Food poisoning liability would generally be covered under general liability or specific product liability policies. Question 16. Theoretical knowledge. What is the primary rationale behind the principle of subrogation in insurance? A. To allow insured parties to profit from their losses. B. To transfer the right to claim damages to the insurer after compensation has been paid. C. To ensure that all parties involved in a claim receive equal compensation. D. To facilitate quicker settlements by avoiding lengthy court processes. Answer: B. Explanation. The principle of subrogation allows the insurer to step into the shoes of the insured after compensating for a loss, enabling the insurer to pursue recovery from the third party responsible for the loss. This helps to maintain the principle of indemnity, ensuring that the insured does not receive a windfall from their insurance claim. Relevant rules. New Hampshire insurance regulations support the subrogation rights of insurers as part of their claims management processes, ensuring insurers can recover costs when appropriate. While the other options are incorrect, A. The principle of subrogation is meant to prevent profit from losses. It ensures that insured parties are indemnified but not profiting. C. The principle does not guarantee equal compensation for all parties. It focuses on recovery for the insurer. D. While subrogation can expedite recovery, it does not inherently aim to shorten settlement times. Question 17. Emerging trends and issues. In light of the rise of cyber threats, which of the following best describes the current trend in casualty insurance coverage? A. Insurers are eliminating all coverage for cyber liability from their policies. B. Insurers are increasingly offering specialized cyber liability insurance to address growing risks. C. Insurers are merging cyber liability coverage with traditional liability policies without additional premium costs. D. Cyber liability claims are not being recognized as valid under existing casualty insurance policies. Answer: B. Explanation. As cyber threats continue to grow, insurers are increasingly offering specialized cyber liability insurance designed to cover risks associated with data breaches, cyber attacks, and other digital threats. This trend reflects the recognition of cyber risks as a distinct and significant area of exposure. Relevant rules. New Hampshire insurance regulators encourage insurers to develop products that address the unique risks posed by cyber threats, acknowledging the evolving landscape of risk management. Why the other options are incorrect. A. While some insurers might limit coverage, many are actually expanding options for cyber liability. C. Merging cyber liability with traditional liability policies often requires additional premiums to account for the heightened risk. D. Most casualty insurance policies currently do not cover cyber liability without specific endorsements or policies. Question 18. Claims management. In the context of claims management, which of the following actions is typically considered an unethical practice by an insurance adjuster? A. Providing a detailed explanation of coverage limitations to the policyholder. B. Delaying the processing of a claim to pressure the insured into settling for a lower amount. C. Investigating claims thoroughly to determine the appropriate payout. D. Communicating openly with the insured regarding the status of their claim. Answer: B. Explanation. Delaying the processing of a claim to pressure the insured into accepting a lower settlement amount is considered an unethical practice. Adjusters have a responsibility to handle claims promptly and fairly, ensuring that policyholders receive the benefits they are entitled to under their policy. Relevant rules. The New Hampshire Unfair Insurance Practices Act prohibits such practices, promoting transparency and fairness in the claims process. Question 19. Coverage limits and exclusions. Which of the following best describes the concept of aggregate limit commercial general liability CGL policy? A. The maximum amount the insurer will pay for each individual claim. B. The total amount the insurer will pay for all claims made during a policy period. C. The minimum amount that must be paid out before coverage kicks in. D. The amount the insured must pay as a deductible before the insurer pays for a claim. Answer: B. Explanation. The aggregate limit is the maximum amount that an insurer will pay for all covered losses during a specific policy period, regardless of the number of claims made. This limit is crucial in managing the insurer's exposure to risk. Relevant rules. In New Hampshire, CGL policies are required to clearly define coverage limits, including aggregate limits, ensuring policyholders understand their potential exposure, while the other options are incorrect. A. This describes the per occurrence limit, not the aggregate limit. C. This concept is related to waiting periods, not limits. D. This refers to deductibles, which are separate from coverage limits. Question 20. Liability coverage. Under New Hampshire law, which of the following is not a typical component of personal liability coverage in a homeowner's insurance policy? A. Bodily injury liability. B. Property damage liability. C. Medical payments to others. D. Coverage for intentional acts. Answer: D. Explanation. Personal liability coverage in a homeowner's policy typically excludes coverage for intentional acts. This is to prevent insured parties from claiming damages resulting from actions they intended to carry out. Relevant rules. New Hampshire law mandates that liability policies clarify covered and excluded risks, ensuring policyholders are aware of limitations. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Bodily injury liability is a fundamental component of personal liability coverage. B. Property damage liability is also included in personal liability coverage. C. Medical payments to others provide coverage for medical expenses incurred by guests injured on the insured's property. Question 21. Commercial property insurance. What is the primary purpose of a business interruption insurance policy? A. To cover physical damage to business property. B. To replace stolen inventory. C. To compensate for lost income due to covered property damage. D. To provide liability coverage for customer injuries. Answer: C. Explanation. Business interruption insurance compensates business owners for lost income when their operations are halted due to covered property damage, such as fire or flood. This coverage is essential for maintaining financial stability during recovery. Relevant rules. In New Hampshire, businesses are advised to consider business interruption insurance as part of their overall risk management strategy, especially those with significant fixed costs. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Physical damage coverage is separate from business interruption insurance. B. Coverage for stolen inventory falls under property insurance, not business interruption. D. Liability coverage is distinct from business interruption insurance, which focuses solely on income loss. Question 22. Homeowners insurance. Which of the following is an exclusion typically found in a standard homeowners insurance policy? A. Fire damage to the home. B. Theft of personal property. C. Damage caused by a flood. D. Vandalism to the property. Answer: C. Explanation. Flood damage is typically excluded from standard homeowners insurance policies and requires separate flood insurance coverage. Homeowners are advised to evaluate their risk for flooding based on location and take appropriate action. Relevant rules. The National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) provides guidelines for flood insurance in New Hampshire, emphasizing the need for separate coverage. While the other options are incorrect. A. Fire damage is generally covered under a standard homeowners policy. B. Theft of personal property is included in homeowners coverage. D. Vandalism is usually covered as part of the homeowners policy. Question 23. Errors and omissions insurance. What is the primary function of errors and omissions (EO) insurance for professionals? A. To cover physical injuries caused by the professional's actions. B. To protect against claims of negligence or inadequate work. C. To cover property damage resulting from professional services. D. To provide coverage for personal liability incidents. Answer: B. Explanation. Errors and omissions insurance is designed to protect professionals against claims of negligence or inadequate work. This type of coverage is essential for professionals who provide advice or services to clients. Relevant rules. In New Hampshire, many professions, such as real estate agents and insurance agents, are often required to carry EO insurance to operate legally. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Physical injury claims would typically fall under general liability insurance. C. Property damage from professional services may also be covered under different policies, not EO. D. Personal liability incidents are generally covered under personal liability insurance, not EO. Question 24. Policy interpretation. In the event of ambiguous language in an insurance policy, how is the ambiguity typically resolved? A. In favor of the insurance company. B. In favor of the insured. C. Based on the intent of the insurer. D. By referring to state regulations only. Answer: B. Explanation. In cases of ambiguity, insurance policies are generally interpreted in favor of the insured. This principle, known as contra pro forentum, aims to protect the policyholder from unclear language that could disadvantage them. Relevant rules. New Hampshire courts often uphold this principle to ensure fairness in insurance contracts and to promote clarity in policy language. While the other options are incorrect. A. This would undermine consumer protection principles. C. Intent is difficult to establish and is secondary to the written terms of the policy. D. While state regulations may provide guidance, the principle of favoring the insured takes precedence in policy interpretation. Question 25. Automobile insurance. Which of the following is typically a requirement under New Hampshire's mandatory automobile insurance laws? A. Comprehensive coverage for all vehicles. B. Bodily injury liability coverage. C. Uninsured motorist coverage. D. Collision coverage for all personal vehicles. Answer B. Explanation. New Hampshire law requires drivers to carry bodily injury liability coverage to protect against claims for injuries inflicted on others in the event of an accident. This coverage is essential for financial protection in auto accidents. Relevant rules, according to New Hampshire, are SA 264. 1. Drivers must maintain minimum liability limits to legally operate a vehicle, while the other options are incorrect. A. Comprehensive coverage is not mandatory in New Hampshire. C. While uninsured motorist coverage is recommended, it is not a mandatory requirement. D. Collision coverage is optional and not required by law. Question 26. Claims investigation. During the claims investigation process, what is the primary role of the claims adjuster? A. To provide legal representation for the insured. B. To evaluate the validity of the claim and determine payout amounts. C. To negotiate settlements with the claimant's attorney. D. To sell additional insurance products to the claimant. Answer B. Explanation. The primary role of a claims adjuster is to evaluate the validity of the claim, gather evidence, and determine the appropriate payout amount based on the policy's coverage and applicable laws. Adjusters must act fairly and impartially during this process. Relevant rules. New Hampshire insurance regulations require adjusters to adhere to ethical standards and conduct thorough investigations. While the other options are incorrect, A. Adjusters do not provide legal representation. This is typically the role of an attorney. C. Negotiation with attorneys may occur, but the primary function is to evaluate claims. D. Selling additional products is not a role of the claims adjuster. Question 27. Liability coverage types. Which type of coverage is specifically designed to protect a business from claims arising out of acts of negligence in providing professional services? A. General liability insurance. B. Product liability insurance. C. Professional liability insurance. D. Business interruption insurance. Answer C. Explanation. Professional liability insurance, also known as errors and omissions (EO) insurance, is specifically designed to cover claims arising from negligent acts, errors, or omissions in the provision of professional services. Relevant rules. In New Hampshire, certain professions, such as healthcare providers and financial advisors, are often required to carry professional liability insurance to protect against such claims, while the other options are incorrect. A general liability insurance covers a broader range of liabilities, but does not specifically address professional services. B. Product liability insurance pertains to claims arising from product defects. D. Business interruption insurance compensates for lost income due to business disruptions, not negligence claims. Question 20. Policy cancellation. Under New Hampshire law, what is the required notice period for an insurer to cancel a personal auto policy for non-payment of premium? A. 10 days. B. 20 days. C. 30 days. D. 60 days. Answer A. Explanation. New Hampshire law mandates that insurers provide at least 10 days notice when cancelling a personal auto policy for non-payment of premium. This short notice period allows the insured time to remedy the payment issue or seek alternative coverage. Relevant rules. RSA 417(4) outlines the procedures and requirements for cancellation notices in New Hampshire. Why the other options are incorrect. B. A 20-day notice period does not align with the law regarding cancellations for non-payment. C. A 30-day notice is not required for this specific situation. D. A 60-day notice is excessive for cancellations due to non-payment. Question 29. Coverage endorsements. Which of the following is a common endorsement that may be added to a homeowner's insurance policy to provide additional coverage? A. Identity theft coverage. B. Personal liability coverage. C. Flood insurance. D. Comprehensive coverage. Answer A. Explanation. Identity theft coverage is an endorsement that can be added to a homeowner's policy to cover expenses associated with restoring the insured's identity after theft. This is a growing concern and often requires specific endorsement due to the standard policy's limitations on such coverage. Relevant rules. In New Hampshire, insurers are encouraged to offer endorsements for emerging risks like identity theft, allowing policyholders to customize their coverage according to their needs, while the other options are incorrect. B. Personal liability coverage is typically included in standard homeowners policies, not an endorsement. C. Flood insurances. A separate policy that must be purchased independently, not typically an endorsement to a homeowner's policy. D. Comprehensive coverage refers to a type of auto insurance and is not relevant in the context of homeowners insurance. Question 30. Uninsured motorist coverage. Under New Hampshire law, what is the primary purpose of uninsured motorist coverage? A. To cover property damage to the insured's vehicle. B. To provide medical expenses for the insured after an accident. C. To protect the insured against losses from accidents caused by drivers without insurance. D. To replace lost wages due to an accident. Answer: C. Explanation. Uninsured motorist coverage is designed to protect insured individuals from financial losses due to accidents caused by uninsured drivers. It ensures that the insured has coverage for bodily injuries resulting from such accidents. Relevant rules: New Hampshire requires drivers to have some form of liability insurance, but coverage is not mandatory. However, it is highly recommended for protection against uninsured drivers. Why the other options are incorrect: A. Coverage for property damage falls under a different type of insurance or collision coverage. B. Medical expenses after an accident may be covered by medical payments or health insurance. D. Lost wages due to an accident would require specific coverage such as disability insurance.